Does it feel like every part of your life is divided? Every scenario, every environment, your church, your school, your work, your friends, left, right, conservative, liberal, religious, secular. It seems you always have to take a side. This is a conversation between a progressive Christian and a conservative atheist who happen to be great friends. Welcome to Living on Common Ground.
Do you think if we met today, we would still be friends?
I don't know, but we're friends now.
A mob is known as a mob because they are living.
Man, so what? We won a few games. And y'all fools think that's something? Man, that ain't nothing, y'all. And you know what else? We ain't nothing either. Yeah, we came together in camp. Cool. But then we're right back here and the world tells us that they don't want us to be together. We fall apart like we ain't a damn bit of nothing, man.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I'm in Vegas.
Where are you now? Are you Vegas?
Yep.
Yeah. And look at you taking time to do the podcast.
Yeah, it's a very exciting trip to Vegas.
Well, you could be out on the strip.
Uh-huh. Sure.
I don't know. I've never been to Vegas, so I don't know.
Oh, you haven't?
I have no desire. Denise has a desire, but I could care less.
Oh, it's fun. Vegas is fun. Yeah, not on these
Good.
trips that I take, but
Yeah.
But
So
it's mostly where I go is sad because it's it's everywhere except for the strip is just like any kind of suburb that you've ever been in, except every single building has a slot machine in it. If it's a gas station or an office building, everything has a slot machine in it. And so that's a little sad, but other than that, it's fine.
yeah. Well, good. How long are you out there?
I'm here for one night, and then I'm flying to Reno for 2 nights and seeing people up there, and then I'm flying home. So if you want to get sadder than Vegas,
Go to Reno?
Reno's fine. Reno's fine. I don't really get mad at me, but it's it's not Vegas.
Well, I have 2 books I want to show you that I've got recently.
Okay.
All right. Can you see this one?
Yes,
Have
I
you
can see
read
that
it?
one. I have it, and I've read chapters of it.
Okay. I'm going to read it because you asked me to reach out to them, and I have, but I have not heard back. But
So we should say that. Are you trying to keep it a secret? Are you trying to be coy?
no, you can say it. Nope. Go ahead.
Yeah, we reached out to Brett Weinstein. I always have to say like Weinstein is mean. Brett Weinstein and Heather Hine,
Uh-huh.
who
Okay.
do the Dark Horse podcast,
And
and they wrote the book. Yeah, go
A
ahead.
Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century, Evolution and the Challenges of Modern Life.
It's really good.
It sounds
It's
really
very
interesting to me.
Yeah, it's very.
So-
It's very interesting. They talk about hyper novelty, and essentially the theme of the book is that we evolved as a species over at least several 100,000 years. If you want to go back to like common ancestors, you could go back probably a couple million years, something like that, and we evolved to be a thing. And then in the last 10,000 years, which is like a blink of an eye in our evolution, we completely changed the entire structure, or we developed an entire structure of civilization, and much of it contains things that we just did not evolve to be able to handle. And so that's kind of the theme of it, trying to deal with that. Anyway, I think
I'm really excited about reading it, but I've got a couple other books I have to finish first.
Okay.
One of them is this one. You can't see it. Star-Spangled Jesus.
Star-Spangled Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
By April LaJoy.
Okay.
And she was the other person representing persons of faith with me this past weekend on that panel.
You should mention what the panel was.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to go to NanaCon, which is Nashville Nuns Convention. And so basically, they told me it was an atheist convention, but it wasn't just atheists. I think nuns is a better, maybe a better way of thinking about it. So you had all kinds of people there. There were actually at the convention, me, April, and one other Christian.
Okay.
But I asked one of the organizers of the event.
Yeah.
And he estimated that about 80% of the people there probably at one time were persons of faith themselves.
Well, that's not surprising. I mean, we live in the West.
Yeah. So
we're all cultural Christians. Can't do anything about that.
We could talk more about that sometime. Okay. So a couple things. One is I want to share this just because I want to let people hear how organized we're becoming.
Mm-hmm.
You shared with me, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 episode topics. And did you see that I responded?
No, you said that you had responded, but I can't find it because
I responded right on the document is what I did that you shared with me on Google Drive. I just made comments on it.
Yeah, I don't know how to get back to that.
I'll share it with you again. Yeah, you shared it with me, and then you can't figure out how to get back to it.
I don't.
So
know
the whole thing I was talking about how organized we are now. We're actually
lie
being
to that,
judged. Right?
Yeah.
So a couple of them I did just say, I totally agree with you. So I'm
That's
not
too
sure
bad.
that. But I would still be very interested in hearing what you said, what you have to say about it, because while I say I completely agree with you, I may not when you actually tell me what it is you mean.
Sure. Yeah, and I like I had mentioned in the email, I was making the statements intentionally inflammatory. They're intended to be kind of debate resolutions because if I've just been thinking about what we've talked about this so many times, but what we want this podcast to really be and what we want the podcast to be and I keep coming back to that. I want to model being able to be friends with somebody that you disagree with, and also be able to be in the same room with people who think differently than you, and still be able to, if we're going to have a group, a community that welcomes everyone, outside of what Peter Rollins says. I've
still been thinking a lot about that. So
if
if you're listening and you haven't checked out the Peter Rollins episode, I would highly recommend going back.
I thought his point was really well made, but I'm going to disregard it. And just say, that is what, if that's what we're trying to do, then I want to be like, I want to actually model that and kind of be a little, try to be a little brave here. Because and not just hang out in the areas where I know that we're fine in, and see if we can have some sort of disagreement and then still be friends.
Yeah, I would hope so. I can be. I guess it comes down to you. So I will say this, as I've been noodling what Peter Rollins had to say, and I'm probably twisting what he said a little bit.
Good.
But when he said that this idea of community being formed around lack, right, like that would be the alternate to the other communities that he described. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because just go back and listen to the other episode. But I thought about that, and I have no problem with that, because I think that in order to create a place where everyone belongs, the people that are in that community eventually have to embrace the idea that certainty is something you cannot have. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
well, I mean, but I think his point is well made that the strongest communities are built around a common enemy, and it's the most bonding thing to our human brain, I think, and so. Yep. I thought his point was well made that, when he was talking about the friend of his, it was like, I'm going to have a festival where everyone's welcome. And he was like, I could list like 4 different groups of people, like right off the top of my head, that you're not going to be okay with being there.
I just started laughing inside because I felt like he was talking about me at that point.
Well, it's a good thing to keep in mind, and he might be philosophically. I think he's right. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's where I don't care because I want to do it. I want to try to do it if we can.
Well, we'll have an opportunity to further debate him, especially I think he's going to come back on. I communicated with him a couple times last week. He's going to come back on. We haven't set a date yet, but
and Peter, if you hear this, if you actually do listen to this, we have no interest in debating you. We're just kidding.
Well, no, I do. I want to hear
never mind.
more.
Jeff wants to debate you.
Not that I disagree. I want to.
He's going to come out hard at you, Peter.
Peter's smarter than I am, so I will back down real quick. But and here's a little tip for anyone: if you want me to back down, start quoting people to me, because then I'm out of my element, because I'm bad at that. So
you did it in the convention. You said when you were there, you were able to pull it out.
I was locked in. I was so impressed with myself.
Yeah, that's
because
awesome,
I'm not good. I'm not good like that. I can remember things. I just don't remember who said it and where I read it.
Yeah, you remember the concepts, and a lot of times you've got the quotes. And if you don't remember the name of the person, who cares? Honestly, like a lot of that, I'll be honest. I think that coming from somebody who myself, I usually can remember those things most of the time for whatever reason. If they're spoken, if I've read them with my eyeballs, then I usually can't remember. But if they're spoken, I've heard it, usually I can remember. Remembering that or quoting it and quoting the person as such and such says in such and such article, blah, blah, blah.
You're almost good at that.
It's almost all ego, though. That's just ego. You know what I mean? So it's not actually in reality, I think, because I think that it's good. I think that it's good because then I can go back and go, like, who was that said that? And then maybe I can, like, if I want to cross-reference something, whatever. But that's for my own study. But I think when I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, well, like Kierkegaard says, and floating over the fathoms and blah, 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 like, that's just ego. That's just me trying to, sound like I'm cool.
It works.
As long as you got the concept, who cares?
Yeah. Well, I know that I was describing what Richard Rohr calls universal Christ. I just didn't give him any credit and didn't call it universal Christ.
Good. So it was your concept then.
It was, and that's when someone wanted me to explain why I wasn't a pantheist.
Yeah.
So, which I loved that. All right. So there is one other topic I'm going to add to this list, and we've been talking now for 12 minutes. We haven't gotten started yet. But
hey,
at some point I want to talk about what the EPA is getting ready to roll back.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to talk a little bit about the
we can talk about environmental stuff. That's fine.
Planet care. Yeah. And I have someone that we might be bringing on for that one. And April LaJoy has agreed to talk about Star Spangled Jesus a little bit. And her coming out of, she was straight up a Christian nationalist.
Okay.
So, yeah, she even wrote a song and performed it.
Cool. I'll try to talk her back into that. See if I can get her back into it.
That'll be great. And then I'll do my best to keep her out. So, all right.
Hey, do you want to know what I did? Want to know something that I did this last week that was that I thought you would be interested in this, and it was just terrible. It was just terrible. I was trying to find some information on some news story. I don't even remember what it was. But I wanted to see what people were saying about it and what like reporters were saying about it and stuff. And so I downloaded Twitter again. Right? Because I've had it deleted for a while. I've kept Facebook and Instagram, but I deleted my
X,
my crack, I deleted my X. That's pretty poignant, actually, to say it like that. And instantly, just not instantly, but very quickly became like just upset and angry. And then for over the course of like 2 to 3 days, I am not being hyperbolic here, Jeff. I deleted and re-downloaded it and deleted it probably 5 or 6 times in the course of 2 to 3 days. It was straight up addict behavior. And I know that like I know that some of my friends might say, yeah, like they might be, it's very easy to hate on Twitter these days from certain people because they want to hate on Elon. And that's not the reason why I have an issue with it. The reason I have an issue with it is because I love it so much. And I love the anger and the vitriol. And when I say I love it, you know what I mean? I mean, I love it in the same way that like, someone loves a cigarette, right? Like
there's a chemical that you're actually addicted to.
Yeah, very clearly. And so I finally deleted it again. And then I told Krista last night, I confessed to her. It's like, I got to tell you something. She was like, what's going on? She wasn't like really interrogating me or anything, but I could tell she could tell like I was in a bad mood,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I really got to tell you that, and then I told her that I downloaded it and I was like, and I'm just feeling so upset about the friendly fire that I'm seeing coming right now coming at Daryl Cooper and, there's friendly fire happening again. He loves it. Yeah. And it's good for his brand and whatever, but like, I hate it. I hate the friendly fire but I keep coming back for it, and, so I just thought that was so interesting that it was like, I kept deleting it and then like 30 minutes later going, I'm just going to see again and like re-downloading it and then deleting it and re-downloading it and deleting it and re-downloading it. Krista, last night, Krista was like, she wants to post one of those memes that's like, other women are worried that he's going to cheat. I'm worried he's going to download Twitter.
Oh, no.
Anyway.
And for full disclosure, Robbie created for us a Instagram and a Facebook account.
Yeah.
But I'm the one that's managing right now the Facebook account and he's managing the Instagram. So
okay.
I'm sort of on social media, but not really. And no one would find me.
Give it time.
No one will find me unless they look, because Robbie made my first name Living On and my last name Common Ground.
So he made it as personal.
As a regular. Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and eventually I think we'll have to change that because there's some things I want to be able to do, but I'm not savvy enough yet. Okay. All right.
Let's
go.
That
being said.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, we promised Catherine that we would. So I'm going to play the clip again from that news about non-human intelligence.
Okay.
So we're going to play that, and then we're going to talk about a little more specific.
A House Oversight and Accountability Subcommittee held a historic hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, also known as UFOs. Lawmakers heard from 3 witnesses today, including former U.S. military and intelligence community personnel who claim to have come into contact with such objects. Natalie Brand has more now from that hearing.
We have nothing close to it.
Retired Navy Commander David Fravor testified before Congress about an encounter he cannot explain. A strange tic-tac-shaped object he says he saw in the sky during a training mission in 2004.
The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are digging into the national security concerns and the mystery posed by unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, also known as UFOs.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years. I know the exact locations.
A whistleblower who formerly worked on the Defense Department's UAP task force, David Grush, claims he was denied access to information on a government UFO crash retrieval program, something the Pentagon disputes.
Biologics came with some of these recoveries.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to.
Congress members from both sides of the aisle are demanding more transparency from the U.S. Department of Defense. A recent report revealed the government is investigating more than 650 potential sightings, but Ryan Graves of Americans for Safe Aerospace says there's still a stigma around reporting.
Right now, we need a system where pilots can report without fear of losing their jobs.
The witnesses say better data is needed to determine what the identified objects are and their origins. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Okay. So her question is that if, how, if at all, would the modern Christian paradigm change in light of government disclosure regarding the existence of non-human entities? And I think that while she's specifically asking about the Christian worldview or the Christian paradigm, I'm curious to know also, like, how would it change the non-Christian or the nun perspective? Like, would it open up the possibility of there being a God, or would it actually further cement the fact that there's not? So there we go.
I mean, I don't see how it would change my world view. I mean that's not correct, because it would change my worldview. In the same way as, like, if I discovered that I could fly tomorrow, like it would disrupt a lot, but it wouldn't change my view of the universe. Does that make sense? Like, it wouldn't change objectively, it wouldn't change my view of whether there, whether there is this thing that we have been calling God, that's like this, the all powerful, all knowing, monotheistic God. But yeah, I like this question, because I can tell you what I don't think it would change. I don't think that it would end theism, mono or polytheism at all. I think that that is infinitely malleable, and it would just form around it. One of my favorite aspects of this book series called The Expanse. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It was a TV show. Also, they did a 4-season TV show, and it's a sci-fi TV show. Fantastic show. The short plot is that it's near future, but several hundred years in the future, something like that. And humans are interplanetary. We've gone to Mars, and then we've gone out, and we've started to mine the asteroid belt as well. And without getting into all the details of it, essentially, like, humans who have grown up on Mars, civilizations that have grown up on Mars, are now thinking of themselves as not a different species, but they're Martians. They are from Mars. And the people who have grown up and lived in the asteroid belt with zero gravity, grown up in zero gravity, they're belters. There's become this new division, right? And essentially, this new life form is discovered, and that's the whole, like, long plot line or whatever. But my favorite aspect of this is that there's this storyline, which is that the Mormon Church, the LDS Church, has been building this like spaceship that's the size of a small planet, because with this new technology that all these humans have that allows them to travel so fast and get out to the asteroid belt and whatever, they've now discovered that, or decided that that they can go out beyond the solar system and find this. And I'm not well versed enough in the LDS faith to know, but there's some there's some aspect of some passages in the Book of Mormon that indicate to some people that there's a planet out there that is where God lives, or where they're going to go for paradise, right?
Right.
At least that's in the storyline. So they're using their technology to create this spaceship to go out to this generations after generations long mission to get to this planet. And I just think it's such a great kind of artistic depiction of what I think would happen if we discovered that there definitive proof that there's alien life and that it's, that it's intelligent, comes to Earth or whatever, we have some sort of encounter with it, my feeling is that it would just get integrated into people's faiths.
I think, well, first of all, here's what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it comes from, let's see, the Book of Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that Abraham saw Kolob, K-O-L-O-B, and the stars. And it says that a little note says that it's not a planet where God resides, but rather a star that is considered near to God's throne and a governing star within the cosmos. And so it must be, yeah. And so one day on Kolob equates to 1,000 years on Earth, which reminds me of that song, better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. Have you ever heard that song?
I love that song, actually. And it's reference to the for a day is 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole the justification for evolutionary creationism, right? That maybe God created over the course of millions of years.
So which I think is a good segue to where I was going to go with this. I think that a fundamentalist, I think it would be really hard. Like there would have to be a lot of shuffling of their theology to find out that that there is intelligent life off of this planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either equal to or greater than human intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you take the if you take the first couple chapters of Genesis literally, then I don't think you can anymore. And I think that would become very problematic. So for somebody like me, who doesn't take that literally, and understands it as I got to make sure I word that right so I don't sound judgy. Understands it as a poem, it doesn't really do anything for me. I would just be like, well, because I can still see where that would all be within God's purview.
Sure.
Right? Like it's fine because God for me is bigger than this earth, is bigger than, I heard one time somebody say that we talk about like the known universe,
mm-hmm.
and God chuckles.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, oh, that's all you know. So anyway,
well, I will say though, I don't know how much shuffling it would take. Even for a fundamentalist.
Okay.
So here, I do think that there's a lot of people that one might consider fundamentalists that aren't necessarily young Earth fundamentalists.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of people that maybe you wouldn't, maybe somebody else who's like a progressive Christian would look at them and say, well, they're definitely a fundamentalist and I think there's a lot of Christians who would say that they take the Bible literally and they're still
mm-hmm.
not a young earther. I grew up in a tradition that I think would probably be called fundamentalist. I never thought of myself that way. I would have, I just wouldn't have had those terms, but I think that a lot of people would have considered it fundamentalist, at least very conservative evangelical. And, there definitely was talk in the Christian school that I grew up with. There were definitely some teachers that were young earth creationists, and they were very, concerned about teaching evolution and that kind of thing. But it was just like a couple of them. And then a lot of the other ones were just like, we don't, the Bible says a day is 1,000 years and 1,000 years in a day. So we don't really know. What we do know is that God created this. Right. And so there's like this whole spectrum that I guess my point is that I think someone who considers themselves a, whatever you want to call it, a fundamentalist, they wouldn't, because that's a pejorative term, but an evangelical, a traditionalist, whatever, Christian.
Is fundamentalist a pejorative term?
Well, it's created as a pejorative. I think there's conservative Christians that have taken it on as their own kind of identity now. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like
sure.
It's like Puritan. Like the Puritans never called themselves Puritans. The Roundheads never called themselves Roundheads. You know, that kind of thing. Like, but I think they kind of take.
So
on.
is traditionalist a better term?
I don't know. I think fundamentalist is fine because it defines it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But what I'm saying is that, like, I think that many people who consider themselves, you know, they would say, I'm not a progressive Christian. I'm a conservative Christian. I believe that, you know, however they would say it. You've heard the terms, the phrases. I'm Bible believing. Yeah. I'm whatever it is, right? I think they make shifts in their in the way that they deal with life all the time. All the time they do.
Sure.
You know, whether they realize it or not, we all do. And so I you know, I don't know. I feel like I know personally in my life Christians who when they run up against things that seem overwhelming to their worldview and the answers that they had, they can just say, well, God's ways are greater than mine. God's mind is larger than mine. You know, I don't know all of these. I can't say that I have all the answers. I just trust in God. You know what I mean? And so I can imagine someone. Now, I'm not saying all of them, but because I definitely think you're right. There would be a lot of people who would have a crisis. It would be a crisis for sure. But the Bible doesn't say anything about Denisovians or Neanderthals or
because that's not real.
Yeah. It also doesn't say anything about bacteria. You know, bacteria were never created, right? Mushrooms were never created. They're not part of the. I'm going to get this wrong, but they're different from the plants and the animals. They weren't created. You know what I mean? So like, but you know, you can squish them in there, kind of. You know, and work around it. So I don't know. I think the vast majority of people would just adapt.
Well, and I was going to say, I think the vast majority of people wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I really do. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on this, right? And maybe this is just me being judgmental. But I do think that the vast majority of people of faith just don't think about their faith. They just, this is what I believe. And I'm not going to question it. Like, I'm not going to spend any time thinking about it. I'm just going to live my life and go right through it. And they're absolutely okay with that. And sometimes I'm very jealous of that, but I can't. I always have to be thinking about something, which brings me actually to something else I wanted to ask you. And, so we might be drifting away from our original topic, but it relates in my mind to what we're talking about here.
I won't tell anyone.
So when I was at the conference, the moderator, she was setting up a question that she was going to ask about beliefs, and she made the statement that beliefs are not something you choose. And so when I had my opportunity to talk, I pushed back against that because she made the comparison, and I could be wrong on this, but the way I remember it is she made the comparison to like your eye color. That it's just something that you have, and there's nothing you can do about it. But then the example she gave, I could have punched holes in it, but that wasn't like what the question was about. She said like she believes ice cream is good, and even if she is given all the evidence that there's too much sugar in it, even if she's lactose intolerant, whatever the case may be, she still believes that ice cream is good. So what are your thoughts? Are beliefs something that you choose, or is it both? Because I'm coming along with, I think maybe at first you inherit them, but you can choose to jettison them. But then we're also getting into free will, and I know all that, right? So just skip that for a moment. By the way, I did hear back from Sam Harris's person, and he basically said, if Sam's interested, I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, which was a nice way of saying you need to just drop your expectations a little, sir.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
I'll look for another quasi-famous atheist, and we'll bring them on.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead.
Actually, there's a guy in. Okay. So I would generally. Well, okay. The debater in me is coming out, and I want the terms defined first. But I think I know what she means, and I think that generally I would agree with her. I think that her example's bad, but if it's the ice cream example, I think that's not the best example. But
because I would say ice cream is a preference, not a belief.
Well, okay, so I think that I agree with her at a baseline level. I don't think that you can how do I say? See, this is the problem with it. I think the better way is to think about to walk through the scenario where you would quote unquote jettison a belief.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I grew up like in my church being talked, with pastors saying like, it's not okay for you to just believe in Jesus because grandma and grandpa believed in Jesus, right? That's not okay. It has to be yours. You have to choose it, right? And so there was some idea that you get taught from an early age certain things and you just accept it. Children accept what they're presented with, and then you kind of put it away in the back of your mind. You don't access it. And in some ways, it's not accessible in a conscious way. There are certain things that there's layers that are not accessible consciously. They're always there, but they're not available to like pick apart. But there was also this understanding that you're going to get to some age, and at that age, whether it's in junior high, that was a big thing. Junior high is the time when you're gonna choose this for yourself or not. You need to make the choice for yourself. You need to sit down and really, it has to be up here. You've got to think about it yourself. And so I think there was this understanding of what you're talking about, that like you can have the beliefs that are given to you and then you can jettison them. But what I would say is, the reason I would challenge that is I would go through what would that mean? I sit down and I go, I'm gonna give an example. My church wasn't really big on roles of men and women. There were like there were definitely parishioners who had ideas about women being submissive to their husbands and that kind of thing, but it wasn't really something that was taught proactively, right? And but let's use that as an example. So you grow up in a church where it's taught women are to be submissive to men or to their husbands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into college, and you haven't really thought about it, and so now you're sitting down and you're thinking about it. Somebody's brought that up, right? And you're going to sit down and you're going to think about this, and I don't know. I don't really, I see the verses that they're using, see the passages, but then I've been told from these professors or these other leaders over here that there's these other passages that indicate something else. There's this theology. I don't know. Well, I really feel like the right way to view this is mutual submission. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have kind of a framework of a theology and these passages that I can point to, and I have a background of literature that's been written on this, and yeah, that seems right. And so now I've jettisoned this idea that I had about wives being submissive to their husbands, and now I have this idea of mutual submission. And I'm using this because mutual submission was a theology in the Church of God Anderson that we grew up in. Okay. But what I would ask is, what was it really that made the mutual submission idea seem right to you? What was it instead of the wives submit to your husband idea, right? What I'm saying is, it seems to me like, yes, your viewpoints can change. Certainly, I have examples in my life where I have held a view and felt confident of it, and then and now I hold a different view. But I would question whether I could have, and I'm trying really hard not to get into free will, but if that was something I could have chosen, or if it was some process by which my belief wasn't chosen. I didn't choose my belief to begin with, and I didn't really choose this one over here. It's just that this first belief doesn't seem right to me. And maybe I come up with a new theology, or maybe I just jettison the whole thing and I just say, I don't really care. I can't get beyond, I can't get behind that concept anymore. So that's where I would say, like, I think I agree with her, because I do think that everyone's concept of morality comes from a priori positions that just seem right. They seem right fundamentally first, and it's not because of a logical progression.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's my thoughts. Sorry, I rambled a little bit.
Oh, no. So okay. So are you suggesting that we could actually have been talking about two different types of beliefs? Like, is there? So? Okay. Is there like are there sort of like these unacknowledged fundamental beliefs at the core of a person, and then from that, like, secondary and tertiary beliefs are shaped?
I do think that's a pretty good way of modeling it. I don't know that those ones that you would consider like the primary or fundamental ones, I don't know that those are like set. I think those could change also, but I don't know that I would have that. I don't know from where I could stand to make myself change those.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like, I don't know where I could get to outside of
right, because
myself.
I'm even thinking that there's a level of awareness that may not even exist on that level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like
tell me why.
I'm sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, because I'm sure that there are beliefs that I hold that I've never even thought to question, because I'm not even, like, they're just so fundamental to who I am, that I can't even imagine who I would be without them.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm not even aware of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that makes any sense.
The less aware, I truly believe the less aware you are of them, the more they control you. And when I say control, that sounds prejudicial.
Oh, no.
The more they make you who you are.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, I get what you're saying.
This is something that I think this happens in cultures too, in civilizations. It is the things that, how do I put this? One of the things that Daryl Cooper had talked about in his human sacrifice and cannibalism series, was that if you have to make a rule about it in the civilization, it's not as fundamental as the things you don't have to make a rule about. The things that you don't have to make a rule about, they've already been accepted eons ago, and they're accepted now in a way that nobody even knows that they're accepted. It's just obvious, right? And well, this is another thing that he talks about in there. The idea that everyone should enjoy basic human rights is a concept that is built on so many other layers of concepts that that a civilization has to get to first. First of all, you have to get the idea of first you have to get the idea of what's a human right. What is that? I mean, before you can talk about universal human rights, what is a human right? You have to come up with a concept of what's a human. It's not obvious to an alien. It wouldn't necessarily be obvious to an alien that everyone that we say are the same thing. Now, I do think that, and we all think that. We don't even have to think about it. We all think that we're all the same, right? We're all part of the human race.
All right. I like what you did about bringing us back to the alien thing.
Yeah.
That was good. Because here's the thing. So if all of a sudden we had the Close Encounter of the what was it? Close Encounter of the
Third Kind.
Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, Close Encounter of the Third Kind.
Or E.T., whatever. Is it at that moment that some of the fundamental beliefs that maybe we're not even aware of are the things that become challenged? And it's so, and for us to sit here and talk about like, well, I don't think my beliefs would change, or it wouldn't be that much for me. That we might not even be aware of how it would change us.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that that's why I hesitated when I said, well, it wouldn't change my worldview. And then I stopped and I said, well, that's actually absolutely not true. It would shake my worldview to my core in some ways. And I think you're totally right. It would be in ways that I wouldn't be able to predict. Well, here's something. Okay. So going back to that thing that I was just saying about, we assume all humans are the same. Okay. And we talk about universal human rights. Okay. Now we have this other life form, this alien. Do they deserve universal? Oh, look, we ran into a problem because we're talking about universal human rights. See, we have an exclusion. We feel that we have reached the pinnacle of universality. If we can say every human deserves exactly the same rights, no matter what, we have reached the pinnacle. Oh, except if you now have a new life form that comes in, let's say they look exactly like us, they speak like us, they have the same types of languages. It's not going to be the same language, but it's the same kind of vocal inflections that causes the same types of languages. Okay. They're carbon-based. They need water. They're more advanced in technology, yes, but just slightly. Okay. They were able to figure out something that allowed them to travel across the stars to get to us. I don't know. Make it up in your mind. But they're just like us in that sense. Are they human? Do they deserve the same rights? Do we look at them the same? Yeah. Probably not. We probably would feel fine with, in some senses, harming them to help ourselves if we needed to. You know, all these types of things that we look back on the past humans doing to each other and we think it's barbaric, but like, you know, so you see what I'm saying? Like we would, it's now we have to think about like, well, is it all life rights? Is it consciousness rights? What?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, first of all, we can't even agree as humans what a human is and what human rights are. Like if you ask people what is something that every human should have the right to,
sure,
we would do like
We disagree on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Even as a nation, we can't even say all citizens should have access or right to this.
Sure.
So there's no way in my mind that we extend any sort of rights to someone from a different planet. And especially, we can't even extend rights to people from different states and countries. Like, forget.
But I can imagine this encounter happening, and then after unbelievable amounts of turmoil, okay, and destruction and death and whatever.
Independence Day, where the president gets in a jet, and he attacks them. Yep,
that's right. But I mean, and I'm talking maybe hundreds of thousands of years of this. Okay, between these two humans and alien humans, whatever they are. That whatever comes on the other side of all of that would have a concept of all of them being the same. The alien humans, the humans, whatever, mixing happens, and
Oh, I was going to say, especially if you have a Romeo and Juliet situation.
Well, and that's just if there's two, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So where have we landed? What kind of common ground do we have on this particular topic?
Well, how do you feel about my my assertion that you really can't choose your beliefs?
I can accept that if we acknowledge the fact that there are different categories of belief. Like I talked about, like the basic unidentified core belief, and then also sort of a secondary and tertiary belief, because I think that what we and don't even get me into going into there's a difference between preference and belief too, right? But I think that people can change it, or maybe there's a difference between belief and opinions. I got to think more about that, because what we might be calling a belief, in my mind, I can also often interpret or view as opinion. So, and what I mean by that is, I have a belief that there is a God. I have absolutely zero evidence that there is. And people can argue, oh, you can see it in the trees, but you can also scientifically explain all of that too, right? But in my opinion, God exists. So what I might be calling a belief, is it actually just an opinion? Or when someone says that they don't believe that there is a God, ultimately, I think you got to just acknowledge the fact that that's really just an opinion as well, because nobody can actually prove a lot of the things that we claim to believe. But I think that there is something at the core of us that is deeper than opinion. And I do agree that there's probably some things that at the core, and some of it is shared. I think that you're absolutely right that some of it is shaped culturally. Because I do think that the beliefs that I might share, and I'm not talking about religious beliefs either. I'm talking about maybe human rights is one of those things that we're just sort of dabbling around to believe. Do you know what I mean? Because I can, like, for example, we may all in the West at the core have a belief that there is there is something special about human life. But I'm willing to bet that there are other cultures that just do not share that. We can go back in history and see that that's something that's developed over time. So anyway, I guess it's a long way of saying that I probably would agree on some level that beliefs, that there are some beliefs.
Can we say our
don't choose.
I'm sorry.
No, I'll just say that there are probably some beliefs that I'm not even able to identify that I just inherited and I didn't choose. And I probably would never choose not to believe it because I would never even know to think about it.
Yeah. Can we say that our common ground could be that we do not think that the discovery of alien life would eliminate religion or Christianity, but just change it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there would be some that would change it. I think some they would just roll with it and just assume it already fit within their belief structure.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would do away with any. I don't think it would do away with any, not just Christianity, but I don't think Judaism changes. I don't think Islam changes.
I just think that religion is at. I know that my fellow new atheists, they would not consider me a fellow. The new atheists that I really liked, the Hitchens and the Dawkins and them, especially Dawkins, he would disagree with this. But I do think that religion is at the core of what it means to be a human. I think religiosity is at the core of that. So yeah, I don't think that we would cease to be human. So I mean, I don't think that we would cease to be a religious species.
Excellent. All right, there we go. We've settled it.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Living on Common Ground. Please follow wherever you listen to your podcasts and share it with your friends. You can also find a link to our social in the description. The more people we have living on common ground, the better the world will be.